When you want to experience and sightsee and make memories, I think that's what it's all about, because you can easily go back to the UK life of working in a really high job and just earning money and just like, doing the same old things you used to.
Looking back, we wish we had someone to handhold us throughout the process, to be honest, because there was a lot of hours in the evening searching online for guidance.
We've definitely learned that running a business isn't easy.
Not easy.
It's a lot, because I thought it'd be a lot easier than it is. So in my head, I'm like, no one told me it's going to be this hard.
Welcome to Get a Shift On, a podcast for healthcare professionals who've started to think, I want out. We share real stories from real people. And today I'm so excited to welcome Rebecca and James from Milford Specialist Recruitment. Guys, welcome along.
Hi, David.
Hi, David. Thank you so much for having us.
Pleasure. How are you?
Very good.
Good.
We're embracing the winter here in New Zealand, but we're enjoying some sunshine though. So that's definitely good on the plus side.
It's not been too bad. Yeah, 17 degrees today, so we'll take that.
That's right. It's about 17 degrees here and it's 8 o'clock in the morning. So I think
We're
that's
very jealous.
different. It is. How was your trip back? I know you've just come back from a great trip here in the UK. How was that? How was the trip? Long, I'm sure.
Yes, it was very good to catch up with family and friends, but also see some clients, partnership clients face to face, and also candidates. So it's quite nice just to sit in front of them and have a coffee and discuss their next exciting adventure moving to Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, that's it. We sort of balanced it quite well, I think, but we were pretty exhausted. So we've taken a bit of time to adjust with the time zone coming back this way. Like, I know I was waking up at 4 a.m, but wide awake, ready to work. So that's kind of, 2 weeks ago now. So we're doing all right, aren't we?
Yeah, it's good.
It's a long trip, isn't it? A big time difference. So you've kind of touched on it briefly there. For my viewers and listeners, can you just explain who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So we're Milford Specialist Recruitment. So we are a New Zealand business. So we incorporated not long ago, actually. So it's around November time last year. So it's been a very exciting year for us. So we basically place healthcare professionals, definitely in the radiology sector. So we really look at Brits, Irish, Scottish, anyone that wants to really move across to Australia and New Zealand and help support them every way possible.
Yeah, we also look after locals as well in Australia, moving territories, as well as New Zealanders. We've seen a lot of migration of Kiwis going over to Australia at the moment. So that's a definite common shift in the market at the moment. So that's kind of where we set up in, as you say, November last year, successfully building expat communities as well. So that's kind of what makes us a bit different. And we can obviously go into that a little bit later if you like. And that's kind of our USP, isn't it, really? And we're really passionate about that side of the business.
Yeah. Oh, your passion shines through. And I know obviously we've spoken before. We did a little webinar together. So I know all about that passion and I love it. Now I am picking up an accent that is not from New Zealand, Australia. So how did you guys end up all the way over there?
Yes, it is a very good question. So you probably can't gather mine. Mine's a little bit of a mix of Southport and also Birmingham, but we lived in Lichfield. So we moved to Lichfield for 5 years. James is from Wheaton Aston, but James can go into a little bit of the story of why we ended up in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's it. So I grew up in a little village in the West Midlands in the UK, and had an opportunity to come out to New Zealand when I was in my early 20s, and I ended up coming out here, taking the risk, and absolutely enjoyed coming over here and thrived in meeting people, like-minded people, the way of life in New Zealand, and just really relaxed. And the outdoors, obviously very outdoorsy, both of us. So 4 years of being in the country, I worked a residency, and that was for life. So I had life residency. I actually decided to go back to the UK to do my teaching, and I met you pretty much like 2 or 3 months after getting back to the UK, and 8 years of me banging on about the lifestyle that we dreamed about, being on the other side of the world. And you actually wanted to go to Australia, didn't you? That was always
Yeah,
on
so
your
I
mind?
always had a big passion to go and live in Perth in Australia. So for me, it was always going to the other side of the world, down under. So once James explained about New Zealand, because it's probably like most people, you don't really think about New Zealand. You hear a lot about Australia, and then someone tells you about New Zealand, and you're like, New Zealand? Where's that on the map? So then you find out a little bit more about it, and yeah, it's definitely got the same lifestyle as Australia. It may get cooler in the winters, but then you've got the skiing, and you've got like these massive ski slopes that people come over from all across the world to experience. So you've got the best of both worlds, really.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that's it. We moved. We decided, yeah, after me constantly talking about it, let's give it a go. And the thing is, we spoke to a lot of people that were really influential in making the decision for us, really, because they said we live in regret. We're at an age now where we can't make the move, and we were going to, but we just didn't take that leap. And so yeah, so we decided, come on, let's try and give it a go. And what's the worst that happens? The worst that happens is we go back to the UK and back to sort of what we were doing, which was the 9 to 5 grind. We both came from that sort of corporate background, really, marketing for myself and sales and community for Becky. So yeah, that leads us on to the opportunity for the business, really.
Yeah, we've always wanted to run our own business. So it's a really good opportunity to kind of launch it. So we've always had that passion to help people progress within their career, but also look after them by moving to somewhere else, because I would say we're a little bit nosy, but it's more just seeing what you're up to, how you're settling in, and are you enjoying that location? Because that for us is like why we moved across this other side of the world, because we heard loads of different stories of exciting opportunities and living near the beach, and it's just a complete different lifestyle. So yeah, we just like to hear your stories and hope we can help you settle in as well.
I think that's what, from our conversations, makes you quite unique, quite different, is that you want to have that real personal touch. And I think your own story is so instrumental in that as well, because you have that personal experience of being able to do it, quitting the 9 to 5, moving over, doing something that you really, really want to do. You know, from our conversations, that I have a specific framework that I work through with my clients. And I don't often actually mention it in name in the podcast, but actually, you've made me think. You talked about wanting to move over and kind of having almost that dream. And the second stage of the framework that I work through with my clients is called Imagine, and it's about imagining what you want. What steps did you need to take from having that first thought about moving? Obviously, James, you had residency, but what other steps did you have to take in order to make that move?
Again, fantastic question. There's so many things that goes into moving, and looking back, we wish we had someone to handhold us throughout the process. To be
Yeah.
honest, because there was a lot of hours in the evening searching online for guidance, whether that was just for Becky's partner residency. So looking at, you need your health assessment. So we went up to Manchester, Nuffield. She had a health assessment, which was really thorough, which you obviously have to pay for. So we had to figure out how much it was going to cost. The timing of things, because we were also engaged as well. So we actually had our flights booked, ready to go, and then quickly decided, well, actually, why not we go out to New Zealand as a married couple instead? So we actually, instead of the original plan, which was coming out to New Zealand, then going back for the wedding, we flipped it really, and we got married first in Crete in Harnia, didn't we? And then came out here. So yeah, so there was all these kind of things that we had to work out, and not just that, it was also jobs. So we were actually advised by recruiters after taking a few calls with them, local recruiters here in New Zealand. They actually advised us both at the same sort of times that we would be better placed if we came out here, and we would find a job a lot quicker if we were over in New Zealand and had face-to-face interviews rather than over video call, which quickly, gave us a bad experience, didn't it?
Yeah, so as coming from the UK, we're very used to, and we're all very lucky that we can actually job hop quite frequently. And there's headhunting. So for our roles previously, we were always headhunted for that role. So for us, it was both very scary and daunting, basically going into a new market and not having a job already set in place. So as soon as we started looking at the job boards here in New Zealand, we were on the north side. So we started off in Tauranga, where James was familiar to. Basically was there for 4 years. So we started there. So he had some friendships and family there. But yeah, sadly, we soon found out there was only one page of work. So very, very low. And the more we started to hear about the economy for the sales and marketing side was very, very bad. But for us, it's very daunting, very scary time. And we soon felt very saddened, really.
Isolated. Yeah,
Yeah,
because you're on the
that's,
other side of the world. You've only got each other because you're starting
yeah.
to make new friends where you can. But without jobs, that's the key thing that drives everything really for everyone.
Yeah,
So
'cause you have that purpose, you have that mission. If you're career ambitious and you want to keep going, you have that there in you. And we felt really kind of saddened that the recruiters didn't tell us the truth
mm,
really, and got us to go out there and basically said you'll be fine when you go out there. And it really put us. This is why we have set up our business, because we don't want anybody to be in that situation that we were in, because we were in a fighting battle for 6 to 8 months of trying to get on our feet. And we never ever want someone to go through what we did. So yeah, so for us, we do Google Meets, we tell them the truth, we say what roles are out there, and we make sure that they've got rental and everything ready for when they move. So they don't have to go through the traumas that we had to live up to in New Zealand. So yes, that really made us even more passionate about launching this business and pushing it forward.
Again, I think that lived experience and the authority that you have with that is so crucial for people, because when you can share that experience and say, look, this is what happened to us, we want to do it differently, we want to make it better, I think is absolutely so crucial. I quit healthcare and I got made redundant. I had no idea what I was doing, no plan. That's why I help people to do, because I don't want anyone to feel so unhappy they have to quit a job.
Yeah.
I got
yeah,
through it, and people do get through it. And likewise, people will go to Australia and New Zealand and they will get through it, but it's not a good experience. So I think having someone like yourselves fighting on their behalf and really being honest about it makes such a difference. When you left your 9 to 5s here, what did people think? What was the attitude that people had towards you?
I'd actually only just taken a real step up in my career, which is, yeah, looking back, I've definitely had sleepless nights when we were going through the time of not having a job. And, I had my dad at the time before we left, and I'll remember this. He said to me, should we postpone going out basically because of the role that I took? My territory was Europe, Middle East, and Africa. I was the regional marketing manager of all of that area. So it was a real big step up in my career, which I was really proud of. But I did about 6 months in that role before I told my line manager, the VP of marketing, what I was intending on doing and whether I could keep my job. And he said, even though it's a global company, turns over 123 million, no, because of the time zone difference, I wasn't able to keep it. So they kept me on as a consultant, which was good. It kept us going for the first couple of months, but that kind of fell off the wayside, really, unfortunately. So I was made redundant, similar to you, really. And yeah, so those words will definitely stick with me. That my dad said, "Oh, should you maybe take a U-turn and put it on the back burner?" And we thought, you know what? Because we're very committed people. Whenever we've made a decision, we've planned everything as much as we could. We have to go for it. And yeah, what would you
Yeah,
say?
so I would say the same, because I've got this one recruiter called Stephanie who would basically headhunt me for roles. So it's coming up to 2 years, and she always thought, oh, Becky's ready in the 2 year mark to skip somewhere else. And she actually presented this role to me, and it was for around £70,000 for a year work. And I was just like, this is fantastic. And it was training up people how to sell and progress them within their career, which I was really passionate about. And I got that land in my inbox 2 months in of being here in New Zealand,
Without a job.
without a job. And
Yeah.
I thought, is this fate? Is this pulling me back to the UK to say, right, Becky, it's time to go. It's like, it's not working out here.
Yeah.
But we had it as a mission here in New Zealand. And yeah, we just thought, look, if we don't do it now, we're going to be sitting in our rocking chairs thinking, yeah, we should have really tried to push it a little bit more than just 2 months of being there. So yeah, so for us it has been a challenge because we've got good companies that we could go back to, but I think it makes even more passionate for us to help people move into here for the lifestyle and especially pushing our business because we've always wanted a business and
I've always
yes,
wanted
it's
a
ups and
business.
downs, but we're enjoying it, aren't we?
And that's really, yeah, it's so interesting. I'm going to come back to the business bit anyway, of course, because I'm very interested in that. But it's so funny that you mentioned that you were offered 70K. I quit my job in Harley Street and I moved to Devon and I went back to being a radiographer. I took a massive pay cut, a massive responsibility, and I moved from London to Devon. You know, it's a big leap. Not quite Australia or New Zealand, like not quite that big. It felt pretty big at the time. And not long after, I had a recruiter call me and say, we've got a sales job for you with one of the big radiotherapy companies, it's 70K basic, plus car, plus. And I can see myself now, I stood down at my then wife's summer house on the coast. And I was thinking, what do I do now? With a young baby, you know, I'd taken a massive pay cut and I was like, oh, the travel won't be so bad. It won't be this. Actually took me 2 weeks to decide. And
Yeah,
Wow,
it
yeah,
is.
I
It's
can understand that.
big
yeah,
decision, you know, and I weighed it all up. They said, oh, the travel won't be that bad. You won't be getting that much. And I thought, I know this game. Like it
Mm,
might be 25% travel now, but it won't be, and it won't be. And I wasn't really sure. And all I had was that like 70 grand just flashing in my head. And I could really deal with it. And I said no.
yeah,
yeah,
And thank
yeah,
goodness I did. And same for you.
exactly. You went on that
yes,
journey.
definitely.
You have to have it. And I think that brings me really then to the next bit, which is about consistency and commitment. You know, we all know people who've started businesses and have had to stop for one reason or another, or it hasn't quite worked out because it's not been an overnight success.
Mm,
Mhm.
You are nearly a year in. What have you learned thus far?
We've definitely learned that running a business isn't easy.
not easy.
It's a lot because I thought it'd be a lot easier than it is. So in my head, I'm like, no one told me it's going to be this hard. Because you do have your lows and then you have your highs, but then you have your lows again. So it's an emotional roller coaster. But it really is worth it for the overall gains and what you're doing for a business as well. Because when you step back from your business and you look in what we're doing and actually helping
The
people,
mission.
yeah,
Mm.
the mission of the business, it's really rewarding in that way. But yeah, it's definitely been about consistent because it doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to get sales in a new industry, like loads come in overnight. So it's just being patient and keep pushing through and keep focusing on your core mission. And that's what we have to keep telling ourselves, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We have learnt, as you say, we've learned so much because, like, even back in the very start of things, like we'd never incorporated a business before in the UK, let alone New Zealand. We'd never worked with solicitors to come up with shareholder agreements because we've got shareholders in the UK in our business too. And there's all these things that we were navigating, but it's helped us grow as people for sure. And then also just the simple things like putting together the website for me, being in marketing, putting the amount of websites I've launched for other companies and thought, this is going to be brilliant. You know, this is amazing for the company. I wish this was for our company. And then I had that, you know, dream and it was actually taking fruition. Putting together our mission and vision statements was really fun. And,
Yeah.
you know, constantly the sustainability side of things, because we want to do B Corp. That's what we're aiming towards.
Amazing.
There's all these kind of things that we could do because it was our own business and our own decisions rather than sitting there going, oh, I'm bringing all these sales in for the big corporates, or I'm doing all these leads for the corporates. So it's, yeah, it was really fun at the same time. I found it
Yeah,
enjoyable.
It's so
definitely.
different, isn't it? Like when you're
Yeah.
doing it yourself, like websites, like I've done all sorts of things, I think, really, but it wasn't it when you do it for yourself, it's so different. And I remember
Yeah.
thinking, first off, I'm like, who do I go to for finances? Like, what do I do with my receipts? How do I do this? Where, you know, who's going to get my travel from? Who's going to, you know, all these things you just get used to doing. And suddenly,
Yeah.
I find myself now probably more in a marketing role
Yeah.
than anything. And it's bizarre. You know, radiographer to marketing, wasn't on the game plan, but so many different hats that you have to wear. I think but that's the excitement, right?
Yeah, it is.
Definitely.
And that satisfaction for what we're doing is when we place the candidate and we actually see them send a picture to us because they're in their new location, or we get to see them face to face, and all we've seen is like over a Teams call because we've been talking to them in America, Canada, wherever they've come from. So for us, it's the end goal of that, actually seeing them successfully and really happy, thriving in that new role. But it's funny you mentioned that because about you at the finance thing, because I'm doing the bookkeeping and I'm going like I'm using zero software when before I was talking to finance managers that were telling me about all these codes on zero, and now I actually know it. It's
Yeah.
very
You have
bizarre.
to.
Yeah. It's such a different role. But I think the key is, and we're fairly early on in the conversation still, but I want to ask, to this point where you are now, do you regret any of it?
No,
No,
definitely not. And
no.
it's more rewarding when you have candidates just completely thanking you for the whole experience, and they're just over the moon and enjoying this side of the world. They're loving their role. We had a lady move from the NHS in Telford, in the UK, and moved to Wellington in New Zealand. She said she's a complete different person and she's fallen in love with Wellington and she can see herself staying for like 5 years. So for us, that's just really rewarding and music to our ears that we're like, oh, we've placed her in the correct location, we got it right. And yeah, it's just those stories that keep you going.
It's the
Um,
local knowledge, though, I suppose, that I've developed, and I'm really proud to see Becky obviously learning about New Zealand, and we've been to see these places too. So obviously, when we were at sorts with our jobs and we were kind of considering this business, we actually travelled a little bit of New Zealand, so we can talk like firsthand, really, with seeing these places. And I think that really does benefit not just the client, but the candidate, but also the client. And that's why we've probably built such a good sort of client base right now within so many months of launching, because they kind of understand the mission that we're trying to achieve. Really, they really buy into the fact that we are actually really looking after our candidates. We're not just saying it. We're having coffee catch ups. We're putting on events for them to go kayaking together so they can make friendships. The clients really, really enjoy that, don't they?
Yeah,
So
yeah, and they suffer from retention a lot of the
big
time.
time.
That let's say a recruiter's placed them somewhere and it's completely wrong, and they just hate the place and they end up leaving and going back home
Get
within
homesick.
6 months.
Yeah.
So they know the importance of getting the place right. And then for us, we ask silly questions like, "So what kind of weather do you like? What do you do after work?" And the candidate's like, "Well, these are not questions I expected," but they totally get it why we ask. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
That's so important. You're right, for the clients, because retention is huge and retention is very costly when it's
Yeah.
not good. But
yeah.
also for the candidates, if you're moving across the world, it's a good, to have that inside knowledge, to know there's something going on around it, and that they are cared for, I think will make such a big difference for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And they just feel they're not alone because there's so many students that have they've just finished and graduated and they're going on their own. And it's just, they're so nervous about going. So knowing that we're here and we're actually from the UK and we get it, and they just feel like even the Irish come to us and they're saying, can you just look after me while I go over there? So we feel like they're parents for all the
Mhm.
candidates, doesn't matter what age. We're just like, how are you? Just constantly checking in.
Yeah.
So
But not just
yes.
us, like we've got a couple of consultants as well that work with us now. And it's nice to see them developing that same, like obviously at the start, they wanted to get to know the brand, get to know what we're all about. And they've enjoyed actually taking shape of their own kind of relationship. What does Roselle call it? She's
Yeah,
a
matchmaking.
matchmaker.
Yeah.
So she says, "Oh, I'm a matchmaker. That's what my job role is now." So, and she's really passionate as well, which is nice.
Yeah, and Roselle, she lives in Auckland, New Zealand. So she used to live in Wellington, so she knows how it feels to move around New Zealand.
Mm.
Now she's moving to Australia. So by first hand, she's the one who explains how it is living in Auckland and how it is living in Wellington. And she's just got all that knowledge that people need. So she's fantastic, which is really nice to see.
Yeah. And it helps when you have people that buy into what you're doing as well. That makes such a big difference. So let's talk about the business, Milford Specialist Recruitment. Why did you choose healthcare? And then why did you specifically choose radiography, radiology?
Yeah, so I'll let you start with that, as it was James's
Yeah, it's my
sister is the
sister.
reason why we got into it all.
Exactly, yeah. So she was the first person that we placed because she wanted to come over to New Zealand. And strangely, the website as well, when you launch a website, we initially went with teaching and healthcare. That was kind of education and healthcare. That was the kind of go-to. And then you put it there. And so we put a lot of effort into the SEO side of things and the content, the blogs. And organically, after placing Abby, organically we started getting quite a lot of radiologists come through. Then we started getting sonographers, mammographers, and all the different modalities. And we thought, okay, should we be really focusing on this a little bit more so, and spend a lot more energy on that instead of the education side of things? And obviously, the story behind that is that Abby, now we can actually talk the same talk as my sister, whereas before, conversations about her work, we didn't have a clue.
Just went over the
Went
head.
over our heads.
But now I'm just like, oh, do you mean this machine? And do you mean the Philip machine? And you
yeah.
know what she's on about now. And she just sits there gobsmacked. So, but it is definitely weird how we had so many
Niched.
people come forward that are radiographers, sonographers, and we didn't really kind of specialise in that at the start. So we were after scientists, we were after GPs, pharmacists, nurses, but we had this kind of push with like leads about like the radiology sector. And it was clear to us that people were coming to us because we knew what we're like selling. We knew that what they needed. We knew the hospitals and the private sectors.
That's another thing, yeah, with the clients themselves, like clients that came forward to us as well. And after seeing LinkedIn posts and things like that, they were all like clinics from radiology, which was fantastic because they ranged from startups to big corporate sort of level. Yeah. So it is very strange how it kind of just pushed us that direction. But I think because my dad, he owns his own business, he's got 2 businesses, real role model for me and you actually. Becky's dad also owns his own business, and we were advised from both of them, you just go with the flow of the business, how it shapes. Don't fight it. It'll guide you. And I mean, your dad said that to you as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. So we really thought, okay, let's just niche in this area. And all our private sector clients that come forward to us to partner with them, we've got so many now across Australia and New Zealand that the roles they're giving us, we're too busy to have any other kind of now. So which is a nice problem to have.
Yeah, and it's funny how it works out. As you say, sometimes you just have to go with that flow, go with it. And again, funny you mentioned the education, because when I first started my business, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to help teachers and healthcare professionals. And then I've realized that actually, once you niche down, it's so much better for you because it just makes your everything clearer. Your marketing, you can concentrate on just one area and then really start to help. And I love the fact that you're starting to know about radiography, obviously fairly close to my heart. And yeah, sharing fun about machines and what they do is, that's really, really good. And your sister is happy in what she's doing, where she is.
Yeah, she loves it. She used to be in the NHS, and she just was doing all the night shifts and, on call quite a lot. She just, wasn't in a happier place compared to what she is now. She had good friends within work, and that took time while she was in Wellington to get those friendships going in and out of work. But she's there now, and she hasn't been there more than a year, I don't think. So she's thriving really, and she took her pay increase as well, and just enjoying the kind of diversity of Wellington because it's a capital city of New Zealand, but it doesn't feel like that. It feels quite local, and also very community driven. So I think it fits her perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's a good placement for her.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so interesting to hear, number one, that it's possible for people to come over there. I think there'll be a lot of radiographers, radiotherapy radiographers as well, looking to leave the NHS. We know the NHS is broken. And what I'm finding, and what you said there about your sister again, so many of the people that I speak to love what they do, but they hate the system. And it's the system they're trying to escape, not the job, not the role. but it's where they are, what they're doing. So I think moving to somewhere that's probably a very different environment makes such a change. What are the main concerns that candidates have before you start to place them?
It's mainly, so we have a lot of questions such as, will I know anybody? Will I be on my own over there? Because they don't want to be on their own. How is it settling in? So is it quite hard to settle in? Because obviously Kiwis and Australians, they all have different kind of banter, different lifestyle. So they feel, are they going to struggle settling in? Is the pay very different over there, and is it very expensive to live over there? Because there is a lot of talk about Australia being very expensive to live, and the same in New Zealand, which we could probably go into a little bit more. But you have got free things on your doorstep. It is expensive for groceries, but they are so much more fresh than what we experience in the UK. So we couldn't wait to come back to have New Zealand's food because it's so natural. It's farmed here. You kind of like, that it's just come off kind of like the farm into the shop. It feels that fresh, doesn't
Very
it? It's
organic.
just very organic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they do eat with the seasons, like the UK used to, where you used to eat, berries when they were ready, and butternut squash when it was ready. But now, because it's readily available all year round, I think have lost that kind of essence of eating with the seasons. Whereas here, the things that are out of season cost an arm and a leg, and no one has it. Everyone eats the seasons, and it's quite interesting actually. And I remember this from the first time I was here. A lot of colleagues would bring things in that they were growing from home, like avocados just drop from the trees when they're ripe, and they bring them in their bags. And I remember avocados in the UK was like £2 an avocado, whereas here they just give you a bag full for free because
And
there's
they've
that many falling off the trees. And yeah, so I suppose it's there's loads of insights that we could go into, and that's the sort of thing that we do on our discovery calls with our candidates. Ask these sort of questions of them. Yeah. Is there any other questions you can think of finance? Usually
Yeah,
that's
it's
a
more
big one. How
finance.
much
So
would it
let's
cost?
let's talk about money, because obviously that's a massive one for a lot of people. Obviously, salaries here we know actually are not too bad. There's obviously always questions around the how much people get paid in the NHS. Doctors always on strike, but actually, in relative terms, most professional NHS staff earn pretty good money. Is it comparable there, and how far does it go if groceries are so much more expensive?
Yeah, so they do get paid, I would say, a lot better in New Zealand and Australia than the NHS. For example, there's around 5 candidates that we've placed in New Zealand. We just talked about New Zealand,
Specific.
that they've had around 10K pay rises from the NHS, and it's from all different experiences. So yeah, they've been absolutely wowed by the salary. So
And
they
that's probably
find,
like 3 years experienced, three,
yeah.
4 years experience. They're not like, lead positions. Yeah, 2 or 3 years probably.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. And it's the same for Australia. So Australia actually pays more so as well. And we know that the Australian dollar goes further than New Zealand's as well.
Mm.
So that's kind of like on the stronger side. But for Australia, for example, it is expensive to eat out and the groceries are expensive. But this is in places such as Sydney and Melbourne. So it is like living in London in the UK. So it is going to be like that. But you have got free things on your doorstep, such as the beach, you've got hiking, you've got kayaking. They have all the kind of outdoorsy things are very cheap or free. So they do that to keep people active and keep them going outside and having fun on the outdoors, really.
You know what? It's quite interesting talking about, the NHS specifically, and what salaries potentially people are on listening to this, and, what they could get over this side. And I think there's a massive trade-off in terms of the hours that you work. Like, we place only in the private sector. So we don't place anyone in the public health over here. It's all private that we're partnered with. And we get so much good, positive feedback from all of our candidates in terms of the amount of hours that they work. They finish on a Friday, sometimes at 4 o'clock. The on calls that they get is like 1 in 5 weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, so weekends is every 5 weeks and evening shifts are every 5 weeks. So so they just don't feel burnt
No
out.
burnout. Yeah.
Yeah, and the salary they're on isn't being cut down finer and finer by doing loads of hours. It's
That's
that
it.
they're sticking to their hours, and if they're not, they're getting an extra
They
day
get
back.
they get more.
They have a wellness day, and that's a day just to go and be you, do what you want to do, have one off on the year. Most of New Zealand, especially, have 5 weeks holiday instead of 4 weeks. So that's another real
Uh,
perk.
Bank
Um,
holidays. I think bank holidays here as well are really. I think you maybe got like 4 or 5 extra bank holidays compared to the UK, so that's good. But yeah, there's a lot of perks. I mean, obviously the
Definitely.
NHS as well. It's good because if you are NHS trained, you are favoured here as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So that is a real big positive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And
And I think
it,
that's probably an important part to pick up on, actually. Obviously, I talk a lot about people leaving healthcare, but the NHS is great. We know it's broken, it isn't ideal, but it really is such a good institution, and the training it offers is incredible. So I'm not surprised then that it is favoured when people look elsewhere or look back to the UK for for staff and new people. What about pensions, sick pay, things like that? How does that work over
Yeah.
there?
yeah, so the sick pay is very similar to the UK. So you do get that sick pay there. For pension, it's different New Zealand and Australia. So Australia, you'll get 12% super, it's called. So that's like,
Superannuation. Yeah.
yeah, so that's the pension for that. But New Zealand's very different. So it'll be 3%,
Minimum.
but minimum. But when you stay up until a certain age, then you automatically get money given out to you. And that's around
30,000 every year, I think. So when you hit the retirement age, 65, they pay out 30K as a standard because it's just because of the way that the pensions are set up. So you can also obviously save in your own Kiwi saver, they call it. So you can do that yourself. You can contribute to that. But yeah, it's. I think that potentially might change in the future. They are talking about trying to mirror what Australia are doing with the 12% super. And that's because a lot of Australia and New Zealand learn from each other. And
Yeah, yeah.
obviously the economy in New Zealand is a lot different to Australia. So they can't always mirror everything. But yeah, and then they also have here, which they don't have in Australia, a thing called ACC, which it is very beneficial if you were to have an accident. And I think they put this in place because there's so many outdoorsy people here. Everyone's into sport. Everyone does an outdoor activity. And so ACC, if you were to injure yourself during a sporting game or something like that, or maybe just an accident in the street, you're covered up to 75% of your wage for the time that you have off, as long as you've got the doctor's note saying that this was a genuine accident. And they do honour that quite well. So I think that's quite a
Huge.
nuance in
Yeah.
New Zealand compared to Australia.
And it sounds to me, the way of life, the outdoors nature of everything is so much better. And I
yeah,
guess as such, people are probably healthier off the
Yeah.
back, really, in both in physical and mental capacity.
I will say that
definitely.
that for me, going back to the UK was an interesting one because there'll be people listening to this that can resonate with what I'm going to say. Is that over here? I remember you'd go for a walk and everyone would say hello to you. Everyone would smile. I might sound pathetic, but everyone would say hi and they'd be smiling and say morning, afternoon. Went back to the UK and I remember we were walking around one of the shopping centres and I just looked up and this one lad just stared at me and he just said, like, what are you looking at? But like he was going to start a fight with me. And I'm like, I'm just literally looking around the place, like, what is going on in this country? And it
I
and it
absolutely agree.
continued that. There's a lot of kind of, you can't catch eyes with someone or no
Yeah.
one really says hello to you anymore, just in case they're offending you or so you
Uh-huh.
definitely get that over here that everyone's just a little bit more positive I think about
Friendly.
and
Yeah.
friendly.
It does feel a lot more safe, especially in New Zealand, because we've got examples what I've never experienced before.
I know what you're going to
So
say.
I'm still amazed by it, but I still haven't worked myself up to do it yet. So I went into a gym, and then this is like Les Mills gym. I was amazed by it. And even like Snap Fitness is so much bigger, the gyms over this side of the world. So I walked in, and then I went into the gym, and I saw these like hooks on the walls. Like, what are they for? And I saw people putting their car keys on these hooks. And this guy put a Porsche car key on there. There's no cameras about.
No
And I'm like,
cameras.
what on earth is he doing? And I just ended up staring at these keys, just working out around it to make sure no one's taken it. And then when he came back to get his key, I was like, were you not nervous to leave your key there? It's like, we're in New Zealand. No one's going to take your key. And I was like, okay. So more and more people have started doing that. And I yet haven't left my car keys there. But that's just one example.
Yeah.
Like, we actually went out for a meal around like 3 months ago. And this couple just left their phone and wallet on the table and her handbag, and they both went to the toilets and they just left it there. And I was like, oh my God. Like, if we were in the UK, that would have been gone instantly. But they were still there. No one even like flinched or anything to take those. And we were just like, this is
Shocking.
so safe.
Shocking.
I think it feels like how the UK was 20 years ago, where you could leave your front
so
door
sad.
open.
It's so sad that that is the world in which we live here. I think it makes me really, I find it really hard.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, because I know when I was growing up, my parents did leave the front door open and they just didn't think anything of it. But now it's like they lock the front door, they make sure
We've
everything's
got
locked.
cameras on
Ring
every.
doorbells. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it has definitely changed noticeably throughout the years. And it's especially when you come from here and Australia back to the UK, you just notice it a lot more.
I want to kind of just follow up on that a little bit, because obviously it's a big move. You guys seem very, very happy. So I'm going to assume it's been a very good move, a very positive move for you. I'm going to ask an intrusive question, and I just want the rough outline. I presume, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that you are probably not earning the same amount of money that you were when you were in the UK, given the jobs that you were doing. If that's the case, are you now happier, though, earning less but being more fulfilled?
Yes. So for
You're
us,
right to presume.
yeah, definitely, especially starting up your own business. Yeah, definitely. And starting up your own business, it does take a while to get to that standard of income, and especially with yourself as well. So knowing that the New Zealand dollar doesn't go as far as pounds, it's nowhere near as strong. But you just feel that you can do a lot more in the outside of living kind of in the outdoors and experiencing just unique sights that you would never see elsewhere in the world. You just feel so much less stressed, because another weird thing that we noticed when we came here back from the UK, no one mentions money once. If you talk about money, they're just like, why are you talking about that? What are you doing at the week? Have you gone hiking? Have you gone skiing? Have you done this? But when we go back to UK, it feels like nobody has got anything else to talk about. That it's just
money.
about, oh yeah, I've earned this and I've earned that. And I'm just like, well, what are you doing outside of work? And no one really gets up to much unless you're living near the coast, which you've noticed that people do things. But where we were from in the city, it just felt like it was the same rat race.
Competitive rat race, isn't it? That
Yeah,
we're part of.
it felt like we've changed a lot and experienced a lot in a year, but when we look back at home, they haven't done much in that year. So that really kind of put
Hit home.
it.
Really.
It's like, wow, it's interesting.
But like you say, definitely the first maybe 5 or 6 months, it was very much because as we said, we've had shareholders invest in the company, but that didn't. We're running the business as tight as we can with the smallest of drawings that we could take to make sure that the money sits in the bank for us to utilize and spend on the right things like job board adverts or Google ads strategy. The normal thing that you do when you're managing your own personal finance. You're like, oh, we can spend on that this month, but we'll hold back on that because we can't afford the luxuries. We've kind of treated the business in the same way to give it the best chance, really, of survival, because we know that the first years are the toughest for a business, cash flow wise. And so, yeah, if we could keep everything strong, and so, yeah, we're definitely nowhere near where we were in the UK earnings, but we're looking forward to the kind of how things get played out, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. 'Cause, we just when you want to experience and sightsee and make memories, I think that's what it's all about, because you can easily go back to the UK life of working in a really high job and just earning money and just like, doing the same old things you used to. Because we did notice a lot of things are cheaper in the UK. For example, when we went grocery shopping, we're like,
Mhm.
wow, this is amazing. And even buying clothes, perfumes, all those kind of accessories, it's a lot cheaper in the UK. So you do realise when you come to this side of the world how lucky you are in the UK to
Mm.
buy those things, because it's a lot more expensive here, but it's like a luxury living because you've got stunning scenery on your doorstep and you just got the weather to go with it, and it just feels so different of the
It's the
laid back
lifestyle,
feel.
like you say. It's the okay. Do we want to be able to afford all the materialistic things, or do we want a lifestyle where you can enjoy a safe environment to bring up your family if you are, in that position in your life, or do we want to just travel the country, see sights, like just going to the basics with the playgrounds, for instance, the playgrounds in both New Zealand and Australia. There's barbecues set up round the playgrounds because they know that families congregate around playgrounds. So why not give them a couple of barbecues that have got like a dollar coin that gets them going on the gas, and then they can start up their barbecue. And in the summer, you'll walk past the playgrounds, and there's loads of families that have come together. Their kids go play in the playground, and they're just having a bit of music and a barbecue.
Good
So
time.
it's that kind of, all right, we can't go into the shops and spend a lot less in the shops like we can in the UK. But again, it's just everywhere has its positives and negatives, I suppose. And
We
yeah,
we say it's like the food's fresher here though, and that's why it's more
that's why it's more
expensive.
expensive.
So
Yeah,
we're like, okay, it's healthier for you then. So it's like you're
it's
going
local.
to a farm shop each time or a
Yeah,
butcher's. It's kind of like that pricing, isn't it?
yeah,
Or more just to yeah. So we're
yeah.
looking at it that point of view, but it's definitely more expensive, but you kind of get used to it because you think, oh, okay, we've got this on our doorstep. We'll
They're,
get used to it.
they're definitely spoilt for lamb. Yeah.
Lots of sheep.
I would be very, very happy with that. My wife would not be very happy with that. She hates it.
Is she
I'll be right
vegetarian?
there. No, she just doesn't like lamb.
She just doesn't like lamb. She can go for the Angus beef instead.
That she certainly would go for. Yeah, I think the kids would be very happy too. Yeah, I think, look, it sounds so amazing. And then, look, there's always pluses and minuses, of course. It's the other side of the world. And I think, for some people, that's never going to be an option because it is so far away. But I think what's key and what I want people to understand from you is that making a change to a profession, to a career is worth it and possible. And you can move away from the standard 9 to 5. It's not all about the money. And that was really interesting to hear that you think we talk about money a lot. I have no doubt that's the case. The weather and the money is probably the things we talk about most. And I think it is such a shame because it doesn't really make any difference. We need to be happy. We need to be more fulfilled. And I just don't feel that many people are here. So I think that's a real shame. And I think it's so interesting that you have that contrast because of the backwards and forwards that you see and the relationships that you have with people. Moving forward, who are the sort of candidates that you're looking for? How are you approaching them? What can people do listening if they're interested in possibly making that move?
Yeah, so we're basically after candidates that have just graduated, or you're kind of 2 to 3 years in your role, or even it could be about 10 to 15 years. So yeah, it's
Pretty
not
much anyone, I think,
pretty much
that's
anyone in the
willing.
radiographers,
Yeah.
sonographers, MRI radiographers. But we do because obviously we're used to the UK and Ireland and Scotland, so we are really passionate about how Brits, Scottish, Irish, they're all more than welcome. Obviously locals and Australians here as well, South Africans, Americans.
Yeah, there's a
Um,
healthcare comparable list basically that Becky's reeling off to you. But yeah, New Zealand and Australia have comparable healthcare systems that they recognise around the world, meaning that you are quicker progress through APRA, which is over in Australia, which is the registration board, and here MRTB, which basically, yeah, they fast track those that are from the comparable healthcare system. So if you've got your qualifications from any of those countries that Becky's listed there, you are, yeah, you're more likely to get your registration approved, and our clients are actually more likely to be willing to interview you as well with your APRA already in place. I mean, we do work with, and that's another uniqueness to us. We work with anyone that's just even starting out considering coming over. So they might not have got their APRA, they might not have gone down that route of the MRTB yet. So we can guide you through that every step of the way, and we've got guide notes as well that we share. But yeah, you might already have them in place, and those are the clients, well, those are the candidates that clients really love, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're just after people that want to give it a go. It doesn't have to be forever.
Yeah.
It could be a year, 2 years, maybe 5 years. So it doesn't have to be a long time fix. It's something that's, if you're passionate about seeing the other side of the world and just giving it a go, then we're here to support you and be that kind of friend and supporter along the journey. Because you could want to travel of Australia and then go to New Zealand, and we're here to help support both, really. So yeah, so for us, you don't know if it's forever thing in New Zealand. You could be going to Australia. So yeah, so it's never a forever. So don't think the move is forever. And just if you are excited about just venturing, then
I think it intensifies things if you do think of it in that way, that it's a forever. Like I remember waving goodbye to the families at Heathrow, and we had sold. We had rented our house out, so we had literally probably a week before got everything out of the house. So the house was empty, and this was our first home together as well. So we put a lot of energy into doing it up, making it look amazing, and we had so many memories in our first home together. But that house, when we bought it, we already had a plan to rent it out, but it was just weird seeing it empty, wasn't it? And yeah, so saying goodbye to that, and then also saying goodbye to the family at Heathrow, it was all way too much, because we definitely built it up in our heads that we were never going to see them for a long time. And it turns out we were back we were back a couple of
2020.
months ago for Becky's twins' wedding.
yes.
And we knew that was happening, so I don't know why we
Yeah.
built it up.
But if you're family orientated, you can still do it, because we are definitely. And,
Video calls
video calls
every day.
makes it so much easier. And we never say forever as well. I said if we move back to the UK, it'd be Chester. We absolutely love it there, and you've got Wales on the doorstep. We love where you're from as well, David, so we could even be your neighbour. But so it's never forever, and it's just experiencing it and kind of like just going with it, really, isn't it?
I think that's such a good outlook as well, because I think many people probably do panic that it's such a long way. You're never going to see anyone ever again. What do you do if it all goes wrong? And you said right at the beginning, if it all goes wrong, what's the worst time? You just go back. And I think people need to understand that a little bit more sometimes, that, nothing is permanent. Starting a business doesn't have to be permanent. If it doesn't work out, you can go and do something else. You've tried, and that's the key. You've made an effort. You've actually made a move. Instead of sitting there moaning and whinging about what could be, you've tried something. And yes, New Zealand and Australia are a very long way from here, but it's not impossible. It's not the moon. There are flights, you can do it. It's not easy, but there are ways. And I think that's the bit that people have to really understand, that when you want to do something, if you find the wherewithal and you really, really want to do it, go and do it. Take some action, take a step forward. And, having some people like you on their side, I'm sure is an absolute massive help. And I know that you put your clients and candidates at ease. You're so easy to talk to. I know we've talked lots about the kind of the questions you ask, and I think that must make such a difference to people, to ensure that they feel welcomed, that there is a trusted person they can speak to, and anything like that makes that transition so much easier.
Yeah,
Definitely do.
definitely. We've been in their shoes, so it's quite nice to reassure them really, and even talk about. Some are saying, "Can I move my dog, my cat? How about my kids? What schools?" And because we have their education connections, we know what schools are good for them as well in that location they're thinking of. So it's quite nice that we've actually can help them in all ways. What any question they ask, if we don't know it, some of our partners will. And just so they know, is you've got big communities out here because there's a lot of. We didn't realise how many Brits, how many Irish, Scottish, all
Yeah,
different,
already
all
made the leap.
yeah, and it just feels like we walked into a bar the other day and it felt like we're in Scotland. There's that many Scots in there. We're like, whoa. So you don't realise, but there's so many people that already moved and they welcome you with open arms. And Australians and
Yeah.
Kiwis are really nice people anyway. So they'll make sure that you're okay. But we're here as a community and we're building our expat community. So you just feel that you've got those connections of people that have done the move and they're there to befriend you and make sure that you're settling okay as well.
Amazing. I think it must make such a difference. Again, you're leaving family, leaving friends, to know that you have that expat community, to have someone fighting your corner is really, really good. So what's next? What's the plans over the next year, the next 5 years? What are you looking at? It may not be forever. What's the plan?
Yeah, so business wise, we
Business-wise.
would like to keep on growing. We would like to have our very own community manager, and that's probably what Roselle's going to go into, where she looks after the communities that we've built to make sure that everybody's okay and put on these amazing fun events. Hopefully, Becky not falling out of the kayak. So all of these things.
Yeah, more consultants, I think,
Yeah,
to help with the workload would be good.
Yeah, and just to support that mission and just to make sure that we're supporting everybody the best way we can and even our clients as well. But our overall plan would hopefully be going into the Dubai market because there's a lot of our Australian and Kiwis wanting to experience Dubai. So we'd like to form our own kind of community there and hopefully support them there. So hopefully we want to expand globally. So yeah, and hopefully that'll be something that we can do later on in the years and lots of our communities everywhere and just us supporting people and them being able to move within communities. So yeah,
That's it.
it's an exciting 5 years ahead, I think. But for us, we would love to live in New Zealand longer, but we also want to experience Australia as well. I do. I love Perth, so it'd be nice to live there for a couple of years. So, but we will be bouncing between the two, I think.
What is the flight time between the two? I have no idea.
To Brisbane, it's about 3.5 hours, and the same to Sydney's about two
Sydney's
hours.
about 2.5, 3 hours, yeah.
Perth's about 9.
And then Perth, yeah. So on the way back, we went to Melbourne, and then from Melbourne to Perth, and that distance, yeah, is about 9, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's.
yeah.
I think. Yeah, when you think it's that, you think, oh, it's all just down there, it's all very close, and then you realize quite how big Australia actually is.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
definitely. It's when people tell you about their holiday in a camper van and how far they drove from one place of Australia to the other, and it's like taking days, and you're like, okay, yeah, it's quite big. It's not like us driving to Wales from Birmingham or something.
2 hours drive to Newcastle from here, kind of, bit of a, you know, hard
Yeah,
little trip out for the day.
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
That's a fair point, actually, that we've raised, is that sometimes in the decision making, a lot of people choose New Zealand over Australia because you can, over a weekend, just go somewhere down the road
Yeah,
that's completely different and you can spend a whole weekend there, long weekend. Whereas Australia, that's you're looking at a flight or away or a
Be like a week
drive.
away.
It's once you're there, it's a lot harder to kind of go and just bunny hop around the place on your time off.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
yeah. That's
And
oh, again, the considerations that people have to make are you have the answers,
Yeah.
and I think that's
definitely.
really so impactful for them
Mm.
because the challenges of coming over there are huge from the get go to when you're actually there. So that practical knowledge again is amazing. I just want to finish then on more of the business side. If people are sat here watching this, I obviously work with healthcare professionals who are looking to leave healthcare, maybe thinking about starting their own business. What advice would you offer to them about starting your own business?
Say go for it. There's never a right time and there's never a kind of a bad time, is what I always say. So if you find a niche in the market and you've been in the healthcare and you know what pain points are going through, then people want to listen to people like you because they want you to support them of how to get over these pain points. And there's still a lot of advice that needs to be out there, really, especially for other countries as well. So I think there's a lot of room in the healthcare to support others, especially the young people going into the healthcare and just starting off, and also people wanting to leave as well, not knowing what to do and going out of it.
I'd say
Um,
that's a big one. Yeah, it's definitely before we incorporated, it was get advice. Big advice. You know, we luckily, as I say, we've got people in our lives, immediate family that could give us advice, but we also found other people that have been there. They've potentially already launched a business and learned that it didn't work, and then they've moved on to another one. And yeah, the more advice you can take on board and the more open-minded you are as a business owner, I think the better it is because, you know, we love to network. We've been to so many networking events in our previous careers and we've taken that on through this business as well. So the more you can learn from other people, the better.
Yeah,
Um,
build connections. Don't be scared of reaching
Put
out to
yourself out
people.
there.
Yeah, definitely build more and more relationships, because relationships with even competitors,
Mm,
because you never know, some of our competitors we've actually partnered with because they specialize in different areas and
yeah,
now they need support in that area. So we're there like
sharing
holding,
sharing
yeah,
knowledge.
holding resources really. And yeah, just like reaching out to people, talking to people. Don't be scared to pick up the phone and kind of like talk to that person, talk to that company. And yeah, just to kind of like be focused really on your mission, because
Mm.
you'll feel if you don't do it, you're going to regret it.
There's a lot of distractions, as you can probably agree, that, you know, there's so many distractions as a business owner that we've learnt, and we're still new as a business owner, but there's a lot of noise which really annoys you because you go, I'm trying to focus on getting the business to a certain point, and I have to just say no to certain things like turning my phone off so I don't see all the notifications on a WhatsApp group about England losing and stuff like this that you're just like, I haven't got the time for these sort of things anymore, which is sad. But in the long term, I'd like to look back and go, actually, no, I'm glad that I cut out the noise and said no to certain things and I stuck with my mission. I think you probably agree
Yeah,
with
and
that one, right?
one advice I could say, because if you're in sales like me, where you're used to budgets and revenue and commission and all that kind of thing, don't expect to earn massive money in a year, because you're just going to end up failing in your own mind. That every business owner, successful business owner, will tell you it takes a good 2 to 3 years to get on your feet and run a good business. And that 1 year to 3 years are going to be the hardest 3 years of your life. But it just shows you need to be tough, you need to have a backbone, and you need to get through it, because it isn't easy. So I feel like if you're after easy and big money quick, running your own business isn't it. You need to have that passion that drives you through the good and the bad. And yeah, so I would say that, because I know if you were like me thinking, oh yeah, I'll earn big money in a year and it's going to be really successful, it never happens like that. It's, you have all these different hurdles and obstacles, and it just makes you more and more passionate though to help people and succeed, because both yourself and us are in an industry where you're helping people. So that's the main rewarding bit. And when you focus on that, the money just comes with it. And then you just get more and more focused on that,
That's
really.
true.
For sure. Yeah, such wise words. And I think, yeah, absolutely. I'm just over 2 years into this particular business. And it's only now that I'm starting to see some real impact. And
Yeah.
it's so easy just to have, you're right, distractions. There's distractions because there's people who are ahead of you who are doing
Yeah.
so well, you know, or at least perceived to be doing well. There's distractions because there's something new in AI to look at. There's distractions because you want to do this. It's all so hard. You have to just really focus and being able to, as you say, find that passion and work through with it is absolutely vital to keep going. And you're never going to get quick wins. They're so few and far between. You know, these people that make it overnight, That's, really so rare. And it doesn't happen for, most people. So I think having the commitment, having the passion, just driving it through, which you guys exude in abundance. And I love the fact that you are doing what you're doing and helping so many people and will help so many people in the future.
Yeah.
Definitely. And that's the
That's it.
same to yourself as well,
Likewise,
because
you well.
it definitely goes hand in hand what you're doing as well, because they're just helping people escape something that they're not enjoying anymore, or they've had, like yourself, had the back against the wall and been made redundant. So we're hearing a lot more of that, by the way, in the UK. Redundancies happening in higher end roles of NHS, and
Yeah.
been so used to working in the
Yeah.
NHS.
You don't have an exit
Well,
strategy.
yeah, it's definitely brilliant work that you're doing, and if we can help them as well by moving them to a different place if they wanted to, but if not, in the UK, you've got that kind of
They're
like
covered,
ship
aren't
in
they?
there.
The dream team.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got between us, we've got it absolutely covered. It'll be fine. It'll work out in the end. I think what's really nice though is for both of us and both of our companies, we're still helping people. We're all driven by a passion to do that. And we have the lived experience to help people get through it. And ultimately, we can all look back and say, I wish I'd done it sooner. And I'm so glad I have done it and I've made the change and I would never go back.
100%. Yeah.
Definitely.
And we are getting, you said about the distractions, you get a job sent to you or something like Becky mentioned in a different country. And that's the sort of temptation fruit that you kind of look at and you go, oh,
Yeah.
and same as you when you had that sort of, so yeah, it's one that you just have to kind of go, come on, we believe in what we're doing. We believe in the project and yeah, we do. So that's the
It's
main.
coming out that safety net, isn't it? So
Yeah.
the salary and working for someone else, it's a safety net. But when you come out of that, it's tougher because you've got no net there. But then, passionate people always succeed because it's meant to be, is what I say. So when you've got passion behind your business and everyone else
Agreed.
starts believing in you
Agreed.
too. So I think that's very, no, it's back. There we go.
Amazing. Absolutely. Both of you, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I know it's much later there than it is here, which means you can go spend a whole day of work to do. But I wish you all the very best with everything you're doing moving forward. I know we're going to keep in touch. I will make sure your details are all on the description so people can come and find you. And thank you again for being here and for the webinar that we did before. And I wish you all the best for everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us as well, because it does mean a lot to us.